And we are now live on YouTube.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Hello, hello.
We were just talking about chaos. And there we go. Pause that over there so we're not listening to two of us. Yes, come in a space of chaos. We're like, talking about chaos and what that means and creating from chaos and how positive that can be. Sometimes chaos is not always positive, but we're going to touch on the positive aspects of it.
Yeah. Well, it's like the positive aspects we experience the result of, right? When we're in the chaos, right? Mm-hmm. And we're in the middle of that growth phase. We're out of our comfort zone. It's not comfortable because we're not in our comfort zone and we love our comfort zone.
Yes. Just want everything to stay the same. And, sometimes okay, so I'll just share with everybody. I was just telling Deb about having this battle with Google and switching over from Google One to Google Workspace and the thousands of dollars it's cost me and time and money and the chaos of it all. It's like, I know it's going to be better. I know it's going to be better in the end, right? Because we're going to have all the business stuff in one place and the whole team can log on from one place. But in the meantime, I've spent all weekend. And today's a weekend for me because it's a long weekend here. So 3 days, 4 if you include, I started on Friday dealing with this. So anyways, yes, chaos.
And more chaos.
We got talking about, like the space of chaos. And my office, I'm moving the chaos back to make more space. And I feel like I'm sort of the eye in the center of the storm. The calmness is right here in the middle. And I just keep making my space bigger and bigger, pushing the chaos further and further away, which I think is super important. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I think there's, something to be said about being empowered as a creator. That, what I love too, I'm going to hop around a little bit. What I love about being a creator, like creating and paint and, making paintings and all that kind of stuff. There's chaos that happens in there. There's the, how people might see a piece of work, or receive a piece of work that you've done, and it creates chaos because they're thinking about, now they got to think about something different. And there's a certain amount of, it's like being in your power with it, right? Like you're, when you talked about being the eye of the storm, there's, you're creating that with consciousness, which is, to me, is like being in your power and knowing that, like, okay, the edges, the edges are going to have the chaos, and it conjures up some really great images, we create chaos for others. We create chaos for ourselves. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I've probably said this in here before where, when we go to heal something, we're changing something and the change can feel chaotic, right? And we can be in resistance to that, or we can be in the embrace of it, and when we're embracing and accepting it, it's easier to, I don't want to say easier to live in when you're in acceptance in it. It's like, it's a known. We get to find comfort within the discomfort, right? And it doesn't have to be like, dramatic or, whatever it creates, I think when we're in resistance to it, that's where our problems start to come in.
Oh, absolutely. Right. Because our thoughts create our feelings, which then create our actions, which create our results. So when our brain is doing that thing where it's trying to protect us, and so it's like, be afraid, everything's scary, don't do it. Of course, and we often get caught up in our thoughts of, oh my God, we're afraid, we can't do this. And so then everything gets chaotic. Unless we just shut it completely down and we don't do anything, right? That's where we get so much overwhelm and, anxiety, is because we get so caught up in our thoughts, and what our brain is telling us is a scary thing. It's like, is it? Is it really? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's like, how we, the relationship we want to have with it. If chaos is just a thing, and, it is, like when we look out in nature, right?
Yeah.
Let's say a tornado comes, right? If it's an unpopulated place, it's creating chaos still, but we're not experiencing it, so we don't think about it that way. But if I have my house there and my house gets swept away, that's going to be a lot of chaos in my life, right?
Yeah.
But then do I blame? It's like, then what do I do? Do I go into like blame? Do I shame myself because I chose the wrong place to live? And do I,
my life is over. It's never, I'm never, I lost everything. And, so yeah, again, it comes back to those thoughts, which create the feelings, which create the actions, which create the results. And it's just this constant. So how you, what you think about it, because, and maybe your house being swept away in a hurricane is it's a really bad thing. You now have no place to live, but who knows what possibilities that could open up. Right. Or maybe it's a really good thing because you hated living there anyway, and now the insurance is going to pay you to build somewhere else. Who knows, right? But it's going to be different for everyone, and how you feel about it's going to be different.
Yeah, exactly. It's that story that is I think it's in Eckhart Tolle's book about the monk, and I'm sure it's other places too. It's just where I'm remembering it from, about, and maybe it's not a monk, it's a guy. Maybe a monk is telling the story. But it's this guy in a village, and, his son dies, and the village people come to tell him, oh, your son died. Isn't that so horrible? It's so bad. And he's like, so it is. Not that he doesn't care, but it just is what it is. And, there's something about a horse running away, and then there's stuff that comes to him. So that he was the same with the good that showed up and the not so good that showed up. And he was the one that was the constant. And that is, to me, being the eye of the storm, kind of what we're talking about. It's radical because we want to go like, no, I want to be a victim to it. I want someone to feel bad for me.
Oh yeah, we're so good at that. We're so good at that.
And you're allowed to feel bad, and you're allowed to be disrupted, right? But you're also
absolutely feel those emotions. Absolutely.
And you're also invited to come back and join the party.
You can feel bad and then go, okay, what am I going to do with this? I could stay here and feel bad forever. Oh, our life is over. Or I can feel bad and go, okay, yeah, I felt bad. I'm ready to move on. Right. So, and sometimes it feels like, oh, that's simplifying it, or easy for you to say when everything, but no, we all have choices. We all have choices in what and how we think and then move through the world. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And we're not immune to it. And, we're not, and certainly I'm not in an ivory tower for sure, that things do affect me, but it is allowing yourself to roll with it and allow yourself to feel the feelings for as long as you need to. But then if you start seeing like, what, like I'm totally going backwards here and I'm just being self-indulgent. What do I need to do to shift it? Who do I get to be to shift it? How, because you can shift it. Yeah. You're not a victim of your own mind.
No. Yeah. But we all often give our brain that much power. As someone who suffers from depression, anxiety, has suffered from depression, anxiety. I have ADHD, autism. Like I have all the brain things, it feels like. And I still manage to know, where I have my power. So there's the circumstances that can happen. Yeah, okay, so I have autism, and so that makes my brain do some funny things, and I can choose to be upset by it, or I can choose not to. I can choose to be around people who are upset by it, or choose not to. I can choose to work with it or fight it, right? So it doesn't matter what it is, and even my depression, not relying on the medical system because they severely let me down. and starting to take that power back for myself. And did I still take the medication? Absolutely. But I also was able to like work on myself and recognize that I needed to do something, which then started with the journaling and the painting and, moving forward, because I had to be in charge of my own self.
Mm-hmm.
Super important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, seeing we got like 16 people on. So, as you're hopping in, say hi. And if you've been listening to us as we've been chatting away about chaos, like throw in the chat, like, what do you think about being in chaos and, what we're talking about? We'd love to hear what you guys are thinking about, what you're experiencing, how this is landing with you, and we can help steer this conversation in a new and interesting light.
Yeah. Because we can talk forever, but we'd love to include you. So
don't be shy. Just pop it on in there. Yeah, because one of the things that got us talking about this before we hopped on was, as an artist, we get to create chaos in the world, or discord, or disturbances. I can't remember the name of the senator who passed away, but he always talked about creating a good kind of trouble. He was a Southern guy. And my husband attached that saying, because he's like, I love that. It's like a good kind of trouble. It's like, we do get to
stir things up. Yeah.
We get to stir things up in the world. And that takes it requires some power from us, and some confidence. And what else does it take? Standing firm in your power about your conviction and what you want to say in the world, and not coming from a place of self-righteousness. There's such a difference, right, between having an opinion and being self-righteous about it, right?
Yeah, because it's more about, I'm going to like stir things up to get people to look at things a different way. Let's just stir the pot and see if you can see things a different way, versus I'm going to force you to look at things my way. Mm-hmm. Right? Which is a little bit different than what a lot of people try to do. They're trying to force it down your throat instead of saying, like, let's just stir it up. What if this happened instead? What if, I love what if.
What if is it's a great question. I mean, artists are curious folk, right? Mm-hmm. We're very curious. What would happen if I did this, or this, right? So we also get to let go of attachment in that too, right? Because if we're asking the question, I wonder what happens if, we can't be attached to the answer, because then we're directing the outcome, and we don't really grow in that scenario, right? Nobody else does either. The other thing that's making me think of too is that, a lot of us are very shy about putting our work out there, and it's a big step. And I, totally hear that. But we're coming into a time that I'm sure you guys are all feeling it too, where we get to use our voices, we get to use our paintings, we get to make statements, we get to just put it out there and let people feel it themselves, and let them think about it. And I encourage you to make trouble with your art.
Absolutely. And whatever that is, whether it's writing or, talking, creating videos or music, whatever it is, even gardening, whatever your creative outlet is, stir it up, stir others up with it. Mm-hmm. If you can evoke emotion with whatever your creative outlet is, you're doing it right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gardening to me is like, I'm going to plug my computer, I'm going to lose you guys. It sound like low battery warning. Safe. Talk about creating chaos. What would you do?
I would just keep talking, going.
You would keep going.
I hope she comes back.
She's gone now, but she's coming back. Yeah, but even gardening, I mean, is it organic gardening? Like, can you start talking about like how you compost, how that's good for the planet? Like,
people who have vegetables in their front yard seems to cause so much chaos for people. Like people who that's a thing here, right? And they do the front yard with vegetables, or, grass, or xeriscaping where they have no plants. And people just like talk nonstop about that. And it's like, no, okay, yay. Like they found a thing that works for them and they are using this land that, otherwise you have to like just mow it. That's what we do here. We shovel it and we mow it. That's it. So let's do something
Break
different.
it up and put it in bags and shove it in the landfill.
Let's do something different. Yeah. So that's, if we can do something. So yeah, just shake it up.
Yeah. How amazing is that though? Like I just thinking of that, like how you can create food in your front yard, sustenance for yourself, for your family, give to your neighbors, whatever, and there are neighborhoods that do that, collectively. And it's like, you just think of like the good that causes, at the same time as it creates chaos for other people.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like, because it's like it's almost like that whole thing about what will the neighbors think, right? Because it needs to look a certain way regardless of what's happening. So all that chaos needs to be in the backyard where other people can't see it. But why? You're wasting all of that space, so it's like, maybe we need to have some chaos in the front yard. Yeah. Let's shake things up. Let's start some conversations. Imagine the conversations you're going to have with people who are walking by when you're, in your garden in the front.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great conversation starter. It's like you're meeting, you're greeting, you're talking to people, you're
all like, the things we've lost in our culture now.
Yeah. It's so amazing. Like when you start expanding the thought a little bit from, oh, it's just a garden I'm planting in my front yard to, wow, I'm changing the world by planting a garden in my front yard. Right. And so when you start thinking that your contribution to the new earth, or, whatever you want to call it, when you think it's not enough. Yeah. Like just this scenario, it to me, it's like, we got to stop playing small here. We got to start seeing.
Stop worrying about what the neighbors think and do what feels right to you. As long as you're not hurting other people, do what feels right for you and see what happens. See what happens. Right? Yeah. Awesome. Well, somebody just popped in and said, hi. Kelly says, just saw the email and popped on in here a tad late. Hi from deep South Alabama. Thank you for this. P.S. John Lewis. Oh, thank you. John Lewis. Oh, there we go. That's the representative.
Yeah, Georgia representative was known for being a good kind of trouble. Yeah, yes. Thank you for that. See, that's community right there, right? We fill in each other's gaps. I don't have to know it all.
I use that a lot because it's like, what was I trying to say? And then someone else will jump in. It's like, yes, that's what I was trying to say. When my words fail me. Yeah. Yeah. So again, like, what are you guys thinking about? Like being troublemakers, like a good kind of troublemaker, and using your art or business, your creative business, because we were talking about that a little bit too. And also, but like within the business a little bit, like the shiny object. Oh yeah. Before we started talking about the shiny object thing and how as creatives, we're like always after that shiny object. And it's like, oh, then we should do this. And then we should do this. And then, or maybe we could just put, parts of those things that we like into one thing or two things instead of being like myself and having 14 different things at any given time. And it's just like, we don't need that chaos. We could just like settle into something and move forward. Oh, we got people popping in from Australia, a little late also, no problem. Welcome. West Virginia, I'm going to go with, right, Krista? West Virginia. I'm a bit late as well. As a non-American, I have to like try and guess these things. Oh, and here's the chat feature. Jennifer says yes. Yeah, we keep saying yes, jump in, but then we don't tell you how. So
yeah, it's okay. It took me a while to find where the live was. I thought I was all set when we got on, and I was like so proud of myself. And I said to Larissa, finally, we're gonna go live, and I'm not like sitting here trying to find us on my phone. And like then I still had to find us on our phone. So
yes,
look at all you guys.
Yeah, excellent. Everyone's Cape Cod.
Yeah, my old stomping grounds. Yeah.
We were just talking about weather too, because Deb's in Arizona and I'm in Canada, in Alberta, and we have the same weather. It's not good. There's something wrong when we have the same weather.
Yeah, it's just not right. Yeah. And today is a little bit warmer, but like over the weekend, it's a little chilly. You get to 19. It's just
you
kind
might
of
have
crazy.
actually been colder than us.
Yeah. And my daughter's up in the New England area near Cape Cod, and she was like, it's 60 here. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is what's going on. Going on.
See, chaos in the world. Jennifer, yes, the Zoom logo, because we're Zooming and then streaming. That's why we have the Zoom and then, yeah.
Yeah, little tricks of the trade.
That's right. That's how we sneak in here.
Yeah, you can
so
Zoom
that we can
anywhere.
both be here at the same time. Yes. and also record, and also there's all the things that you have to think of. You go back to the beginning
over here with my feet.
When we first started these, however many months ago, and we've got our few beginner where we were practicing, I left them up because they're amusing when we were trying to figure out how to make it all work. And it,
yeah.
So, maybe helpful, maybe not. So yes, yeah. But yeah, just talking about chaos again in the, in shiny object, right? Because it's, as we bring more and more and more and more and more things in, it's like, and then what? Then we have to juggle all these things, right? And I don't know about you, but I am a horrible juggler. Flying off all over the place.
Yeah.
Maybe we could just take parts of it and, like, oh, maybe I like the red from that, or I like the, the sound of that, or I like, and just add those into one thing, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking about how we don't need to reinvent the wheel when we get a new idea about something. And, I kind of likened it to like a painting when you're going in a certain direction in painting, and then you just get this divine inspiration. I'm going to put this really cool purple, and you put this cool purple in there, and it just changes the whole direction of the painting. And then you might even be like, because that's chaos, right? Oh my God, it's edgy. I just did something. Oh my God, I ruined it. Now I got to throw it out and start again. And what we're saying is, no, make it work. Make it work. Like, how can I reinvent me, who I am being right now in this moment, to keep this painting going? Yeah. Right. Yeah. And as we're building our businesses, if that's what you're doing, and you're moving in a direction where you're getting your work out there, it's a business. It's a business. You've got to call it what it is, right? Yeah. Right. You want to be seen anywhere with your art, or, whatever you're doing. Yeah. It is. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You get to charge for it. You get to make money. You get to make a living. All of those things. Not suffering and starving for your work, right? That gets to be done. Oh, yeah. The starving artist archetype. Yeah. It's one that is so well ingrained in our creatives, in our culture, because creativity is not valued. So of course that archetype is going to be strong, but no, just hang out with the people who are doing it, and you'll know. Exactly. It doesn't have to be that way. Exactly. Yeah. And that's part of creating the chaos too, as an artist, like being a stand for yourself as an artist, for art itself, for your imagination, for, I'm thinking of a couple people that I know are on here listening, that, they're creating something that's very new to them, that is very on a personal level creative. It's going to get people to look at things in a different way, in a different light. And we ourselves as makers move through the process of that chaos. It's part of, to me, it's like an initiation. It's a self-selected initiatory process. There's, it happens over and over again. Yes, it does. It does not end. It's not like, I move through the chaos and then everything's calm. No, I've moved through the chaos of this, and then I move through the chaos of this, and then I move through the chaos of this. It's constant. Yeah. And recognizing that will allow you to move easier, with less friction, maybe. Yeah. Through it. You're looking at comments again. I'm looking at comments again because somebody wrote something kind of long. So Kelly says, as a lifelong good girl and perfectionist, I love the idea of being a good kind of trouble in art. I purchase art supplies and don't use them. Just going in and making some chaos is very liberating. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
use
we
your art supplies. They only go bad and like they dry up, or, you know, your paper gets brittle, whatever it is, like just use your art supplies. And there's nothing too good to use, nothing, just use it. Because that's how you learn, that's how you grow, that's how you experience. Oh, I don't want to use that. It's like the good china. Didn't we all have good china? Well, depending on how old you are. Right. We all had good china. We got it for a wedding gift. It was handed down, whatever it was. And then we didn't use it because, you know, oh, that's only for special occasions. So it came out maybe at Christmas or maybe for a birthday, but we never used it. Yeah. And then it sat in the cupboard. Finally, I gave it to my daughter and I said, do what you want with it. Like I was going to like smash it at the smash room because it just irritated me so much. She's like, no. Yeah, but they use it daily. Like they use it as regular day dishes. Awesome. So I was like, okay, awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Just irritated me. So I was like, no.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of where I read it. Somewhere it's about manifesting anyway, and creating wealth or whatever, you know, manifesting wealth, and to live that, like, stop saving the good stuff for a special occasion, you know,
saving like, for retirement.
Yeah.
Right. Like, let's live some life. Saving, right. Yeah, saving your china for Christmas only, or you can't burn that candle, or you can't, whatever it is, those clothes, until they don't fit you anymore. You've worn them like once because, you know, it was for a wedding and you're waiting for another special occasion. Come on, people, live life.
Yeah, you can save for retirement and have a good time. It's not a sacrifice. Yeah. It's not a sacrifice. So that's what we want to look at too, is like, where am I sacrificing something that I really want to do because I'm waiting for something? It's like the person that goes on vacation and, you know, talks about all the great deals they got while they were on vacation. It's hilarious to me. It's like, did you go on vacation to save money? Or did you go to have a good time?
Yes. I remember going on vacation, just on that same thread, going on a vacation with a friend who, when we got home and people were like, how was the trip? Because there was a bunch of us that went, and she just listed off all the bad things. And I was like, wow, we had such an amazing time. We did all these great adventures. We had great food, but, you know, and this 5 or 6 small things became her whole vacation.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, I was just at a party yesterday where a husband and wife, and one had one story and one had another story. One was like all the good stuff, and one was like, oh, this happened, you know, which is kind of cool because you get a blending of what happened. But
it's just the different perspectives. Funny. And that goes back to the thought process, right? Like what we think is what we create, right?
Yeah. So do you want to read a couple of, everyone's very chatty today.
I love it. I love it. Jennifer says, I have several pieces started to the point where I hit the chaos point, but I saved them and I'm going back to them. Working into it again is really a delicious experience. Yes. Often I get like to a point and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. And then I just put it aside and then I bring it back out again later. Sometimes I start over with white. Like just so I just cover the whole thing. Other times I just keep going. Yeah. Yep. Pat, I love the image of gardening in the front yard. I could sketch outdoors in front of other people and see what reaction I get. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Love that. Yeah.
I love front porches. I love front porches for that very reason. Jennifer, I still have high-end supplies I won in a scholarship in high school 30 years ago that I've been saving. Jennifer, oh my goodness, sweetheart. You know, sweetheart is not even a word I use. Oh my goodness, I can't even believe I said that. But wow, you need to use those because as someone who also graduated more than 30 years ago, yeah, some of them are not even going to be usable, but use the ones you can. Use what's left. Just go in and go, I am going to create with these amazing supplies. These amazing supplies. Yes.
Amazing things with these amazing supplies. And Kelly says, yes, that's part of it for me. I think for a special occasion, for retirement, I need to make an actual space for art and make time in my schedule for it and just play. Yes. So your challenge is to go do it. I want to hear the next time we're live that you have created that space. You got a month.
Yeah, we only come here once a month. So yes, between now and then, We want to hear how you created that space. And it doesn't have to be a whole room. It doesn't have to be like cleaned out of everything else. You know, it could be a corner of the living room, part of the dining room table, just a little space, you know, somewhere that's yours, and do that. Just make it your own. Make it your own.
Pastels never die. That's so true. Yay.
Yeah.
And then Pat, I love that. Yeah. How children have no concept of saving materials or even wasting materials. And that's us. And we do that with money too, right? You know, I gotta, you know, how I save money. And there is being responsible, right? And
you have to pay your bills.
Yep. There's all of that, right? And there's being I don't want to say frugal, but I feel like responsible is the word too. You're not just like squirting paint all over the place, right? Like if you intend to make art that you want to get out in the world, and to me, you know, and this actually comes from art school. Like one of my teachers said, like, in order for it to be art, because we were having a conversation of what makes art, and he was like, in his opinion, and I kind of agreed with him too, is like what makes art is the viewer, somebody looking at it, you know, somebody interacting with it. And if you're just going to make stuff that you never show, and there are things that we do, so let's not blanket it, right? Because there's things that I will never show that is part of my process. Maybe I will, I shouldn't say never, but where I'm at right now, I'm not going to show it, or I'm not going to sell it. Maybe they'll be in prints. Maybe that will work leads to other work, you know, and maybe like, you know, when I'm, you know, famous and they're having my, you know, what is it called? I just had the word and it slipped. I hate that. But my my retrospective at the Guggenheim, you know, I'll allow those things to be seen.
Like Da Vinci's notes and things like that, right? All that.
Absolutely, right? When I'm dead and gone, you know, go for it, kids.
But yeah, it's, you know, creating for yourself is absolutely important, that whole expression. But, you know, there is something about putting it out there, and not all the pieces, but there is something about, you know, sharing with other people. And I think that's why, you know, like we have the community on Heartbeat, and people love to share what they're doing, right? Because they want to share, they want to show people, they want, you know, that encouragement to keep going and things like that. And it's a wonderful experience to do that. And not everybody's going to love what you do, and that's okay too. Right. Yeah.
So I love two of these girls in here, two of these ladies in here, Jen and Kelly, are egging each other on. I love it.
Pastels never die.
I couldn't be any more happier, you guys.
That's right.
Challenge thrown down and challenge accepted. Krista says, I read once that if you have a sketchbook, you have a studio. Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's, and then Jen says, in my best Barney Stinson voice, challenge accepted. I love it. You guys are so awesome.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I'm very lucky to have a small gallery cafe nearby that will let any artist have a show. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
that's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
My vision is like, you know how they have like open mic nights, you know, it's like, what could you call it? Open canvas nights or something like that, you know, where you pair it, you know, an experience of someone's art, and maybe with writing, and maybe with music, and maybe with, you know, alcoholic beverages have to be a part of it, artisanal cocktails, and, you know, small plates.
Oh, I totally love that idea.
Yeah, like the event.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. That would be a wonderful event. I love coffee shops that do that, though, that will share local artists' work and things like that, just to allow that to be seen. And the internet really does allow for that, but you have to have a little bit of a tough skin sometimes, right? Depending on where you show. If you go into a community like ours, it's a pretty safe place, because I will boot you out if you're going to be an ass. So just putting that out there. But, you know, so we want to be supportive. We don't have to love it, but we want to be supportive. But
there's
the
good
internet
trouble,
can be,
and then there's trouble just for trouble's sake, right?
Yeah, that's right. And the internet sometimes is trouble for trouble's sake, but you have to have a little bit of a tough, thick skin, and just go, you know what? That's their opinion.
Yeah.
And art is so subjective. There are so many gallery pieces. Like I see what our government spends money on for art. And I'm like, that artist told a great story, is what I always think. That artist told a great story to get them to buy that. Because that's what it comes down to. Because art is so subjective. So subjective. Like the white canvas that sold for, what was it? I don't know, a few $1 million or something.
It's all about the statements, what you're saying, right? It's, yeah. So we got to get beyond the technique part of things, and that there was a time where technical artistry was celebrated, right? And because we didn't have cameras, right? But then the advent of the camera actually allowed us to stretch as artists, and we got to try things out, and we got to experiment. And there's so many realms within our imagination that we get to bring out into the world, and what constitutes that. And it's funny, I'm kind of chomping at the bit a little bit, because I want to kind of back up a little bit with like thickening up your skin. So I have two stories in that vein. When I was showing my work, when I was still a young art student, and being encouraged to go out and show my work. And one was a restaurant in my little hometown. And, the art was a little edgy, but the woman who owned the place just loved my edgy work. And right around, it was right around 9/11, when 9/11 happened. It was probably about a week or two after, I got a call from her. And because it was like too edgy for people, they were seeing the work, and it was
triggering things.
Things about like, oh, this shouldn't be up here. This is, and it, to me, it wasn't really about death and destruction. It was like, there was colors of, darker colors, reds and stuff like that. And it was in the phase before I did, before I found my healing work, that like my expressions were very dramatic, but they were based in nature. So it was like, kind of bodies melded with natural forms and biomorphic shapes and all that kind of stuff. But it was like, it was triggering people. So I had to take it down. And I also got to not take it personal. I got to see that, there's sometimes, I think we were talking about this just between you and I, about like yelling fire in a crowded theater and responsibility. When is the right time to push buttons? And when do we want to be respectful of what people are moving through? So there's that sensibility in that too, that it's not just all about what I feel like I need to express, right? But it's like, it's time and space too, and being, there's a respect in that too. And when we've healed enough to start bringing it back out. My other story is, this woman who was putting on an art show and invited me in because she saw my work in this other space and she really liked it. And when she invited me in, it was like such a slap in the face, because she invited me in so she could put me down in front of people. Oh, wow. My work triggered her so much, the way it was framed, what my subject matter was. And at that point in my career, I was doing pencil drawings of flowers, and they looked very feminine and vaginal, and, as flowers will, kind of like Georgia O'Keeffe and stuff. And I had them, they were smaller drawings, but they had a lot of white space, because my thought was like, just to create an intimacy with the viewer, in this little space. And she like laid me out in front of a ton of people. Like, it felt like a ton, but there was probably like 10 people in the room. And then when it came time to have the opening, all of my work was hidden behind like shelves and dark corners and all that kind of stuff. And because I was young too, I didn't have the fight, because she was an older woman and I felt like I couldn't say anything. And I was so disturbed and so distraught. But that was part of what helped me thicken my skin, having that experience.
Yeah.
And, hopefully no one ever has to receive that from another human being, because that was just it was pretty horrible. But you will survive it if it does happen.
Yes.
And you don't have to retaliate. It's just understanding that not everybody's going to get what you're saying. And it doesn't mean that you said it wrong. It doesn't mean that you did it wrong. It just means that maybe that's just not the right audience or the right time or whatever,
Yeah.
So
That makes me think, just as you said that, about the story of the dad who gave his daughter a classic car and then told her to go to a bunch of different places and get quotes. And so, she took it to the dealership and they're like, it's not worth anything. And then took it to the, tried to sell it online. Oh, it's not worth anything. And, all these different places, and then took it to a classic car show and was offered a ridiculous amount of money for it. Right. So if you're not getting the response you want, or getting the money you want, or getting the whatever you want, you're in the wrong place. Right. So looking at that, we're so hard on ourselves that we don't give ourselves enough credit. And so often we're just in the wrong place.
Right. Yeah. Right. Don't stop. That's the whole point. Yeah. Don't stop. Don't let one person's opinion take
that
you.
Horrible art teacher. Marking art in school is like the worst thing that could have ever happened to creativity.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Every person I know has a story. Why they don't do art.
I don't know if I mentioned this the last time, but like they're still doing it. They're still doing it because my grandson's in kindergarten, and like, why is it so important that I color in the lines?
Yeah, why is it? And why can't a tree be purple? Like, like I was told my tree had to be green, with brown. And I'm like, but I have a purple tree. Like, we had a purple tree in our yard. Some sort of maple thing that we had, but it was like, you're telling me it doesn't exist, and yet it does. It's right there. But I'm wrong, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you're wrong. You're so wrong.
Oh, the comments are coming in fast now.
I know.
Yeah, let's see what we have here.
Creating art. Yeah.
Just a sec. Open mic every other Friday. Excellent place. I love that. Krista, awesome. We have a few places like that where I live. I have a dream that I'll apply to some and have my stuff showing. Deb, look away. You didn't see that. I take it. The only way to have that dream come true is to actually do what you need to do to get out there. You have to tell them, you have to ask them, you have to approach people. Just, mention that. They don't come to you. I'm full-time caregiver for my 82-year-old mom who lives with me and hubby. I love caring for her, but realize that I neglect to put me on my calendar. I know art would be a form of self-care as well as joy. Absolutely, Kelly. This one is so important. As women, we often do this, right? We often look after everybody else at our own expense until we have nothing left, right? Like absolutely nothing left. And then you can't look after your mom or your hubby or your kids or whoever because you have nothing left. So put your art on your calendar, schedule in the time, My daughter is a mom of 3 littles. So from a year and a half to 10. And so she gets up at 5. I don't recommend that, but she knows that's the only quiet time she's going to find, right? I think that as women, we need to take time out of the crazy busyness, that chaos, for our own selves and let people fend for themselves. You can't always do that. Littles, pets, people who need extra care, like your mother may, it doesn't always work, but find a space for you. And if you have people who are perfectly capable of feeding themselves, take time when you need time. Yeah, absolutely. And Mary, to it than just choosing. Mary, what was that? I'm not sure what that comment was to.
Being triggered and been locked down.
I have a dream that I'll apply. I'll have to come back, Mary, because I'm not sure what that one was for. Sweet Jennifer, where are you? Oh, located, Cape Cod. Oh, because I'm being triggered and been locked in too long now.
Okay.
Mary, can you expand on that?
Yeah,
I think because that was the conversation we were having about being triggered by the art.
Maybe. Yeah, not sure.
So because we don't check them fast enough, it's not always. Jennifer's, oh my God, the worst. Oh, I think about your situation. Oh, about grading art. Thank you, Jennifer. Yes, yeah. I really think it's so wrong that we grade art. It's so wrong. I've been technical skills. Okay, if you're teaching a technical skill, yes, we can work on that and get that technical skill down. But art as a whole, it's just one of the worst things we can do.
Yeah.
Kelly, I've been going through thicker skin experience the last several years. It's a big part of why creating art is calling to me, to help me work through it and heal, to let it out symbolically. Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
Because, this has been a hard one for me to learn. But what other people think of you is none of your business.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one I've struggled with my whole life, because my upbringing was all about what other people think.
Mm-hmm.
And so learning that what other people think of you, none of your business.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so it's hard. It's a hard one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jennifer, I recently came out of the divine feminine closet to my friends by sharing a series I've been working on. I'm petrified of my thin skin. Oh, well, starting with friends, hopefully, makes that easier, right? And if it doesn't, then find a community where it is.
Yeah, Jen, I know Jen. I work with her.
Yeah.
And she's really like, I am so proud of her. I'll say that here.
Yeah.
So if your skin is crawling right now, Jen, she is doing such amazing work. She's like, like how we all, like as artists, like we're working and working and working, and then you're working for that, like that thing that you're not that you're going to be famous for. That's not what we're doing at work, but you're on, you find something that's almost like your niche, and business is like that too.
Mm-hmm.
We're always looking for our niche, and as well as, because I don't want to say that's the only purpose, where it develops over time, and she's landed in it, and it's so exciting and so juicy, and it's also pushing all of her buttons, which to me is like, that's what our businesses kind of get to be. Our art gets to be that for us, as well as how is it going to change the nature of the subject matter that you're talking about, like how people talk about these things. And I couldn't be prouder of her for sticking in it like she's been doing, and allowing this to emerge from her. It's really, really big stuff. It's really big breakthrough. And yeah, so she's saying, I tend to hide certain facets from people, so revealing this side to my entire friend base, ... Yeah, it's funny. I think, I know I went through a phase too of being in the art closet, or coming out of the art closet, because I've
come out of a lot of closets, so I get it.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. But it's like, yeah, because it is that, like, what are people going to think of me when they know I think about these things? Or, if it's especially if it has anything to do with sexuality, our femininity, spirituality, political stuff, those are the big topics,
any of those taboo
right?
subjects that we're not supposed to talk about in mixed company, or what is it they used to say? There's things you don't say at the dinner table or talk about, or you don't talk about in mixed company, people you aren't really close to, that aren't family. And it's like, or maybe we do, and we stir up a little trouble.
Yeah. Become troublemakers, create the dissonance.
Yeah, I'm a really good
way.
Stir it up. I'm going to talk about religion. I'm going to talk about politics. I'm going to talk about sexuality. I'm pretty much going to talk about it all. That's a thing I do.
Yeah. So, yeah. And you can use your emotions to drive it, something you're passionate about, or maybe borderline, I'm angry about it. And it's going to come through in a passionate way, because passion and anger, love, it's a very big emotion, right? Anger especially, right? Because it's a thing that motivates us, right? That when our boundaries are crossed, or something is just wrong, right? Wrong, right?
I've been doing a lot of anger work in my groups lately, because women have been taught not, don't get angry, don't stuff that down. But anger is a great motivator. Yeah. And that fine line between passion and anger. Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Elaine says, I once worked with an art teacher who was very mean to the kids we worked with. He made me so angry.
Yeah.
Yeah. He obviously had no business being in the teaching profession. He should be doing something else, maybe working with some flowers or something.
Yeah. The metaphysical closet. Yeah. I've come out of that one too.
Yeah. It's funny because I was in a group experience a few weeks ago where I had a download of something, and it's my new title, and I can announce it here. So it came through. I was doing some ceremony, and it's always like, what do I call myself? Right. I'm more than just an artist. So I do shamanic stuff. I do a bunch of stuff. Right. So it came through ceremonial artist and cosmic ritualist. And I'm like, that's awesome, because that's exactly, it encompasses what I do, right? Because I make my art through ceremony. I make ceremonies it's an art, and there's a ritualness about it, right? And it's, connecting with the cosmos. And I popped that in our group chat, and it's really funny because I got a lot of support, but I got one woman. It wasn't support, but what it did was reveal where she was within her own process. Was that like, oh, that's really awesome, blah, 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 blah. And like, don't worry about people thinking that you're weird. And I started laughing because I'm like, I so gave up a long time ago if people think I'm weird or not, because I kind of embrace it. But I do think, like, when we're coming out of the metaphysical closet, there is that, oh, people are going to think I'm weird, and what are they going to say? And, all of that kind of stuff. And to me, the way I live my life, it's weird to not have those kinds of conversations or to talk about spirit. I mean, for crying out loud, this is called Connections with Spirit, right?
Yeah, because that's where we're at. We're at that spot now. But I know even when people like will ask me a question, I know you're going to think this is really weird, but, and I'm like, oh, that's not weird at all. That's like, yeah, I totally get that, or I think there's something that like in my house, and it's like, okay. And because they're kind of testing you to see, is this an okay space to actually say something? It's like, yeah, this is an okay space to actually say something.
Yeah.
And find that okay space, right? If you don't feel that where you are is an okay space, and your friends and whatever, find that space that is, because it's really important to do that exploration.
Yeah. And it's okay to move on if you're not being supported, right? And I know, like, it's, I work with a lot of people, as do you, and as they're coming into more and more of their power and awakening to who they really are, right? You do go through this, like, am I crazy? Is it like, am I really having these experiences, and if we don't talk about them and they stay in the closet, that's the reason why we are kind of in the mess that we're in right now, right?
The depression, the anxiety, the polarization, all the things, because we're not talking about things, we're not sharing, and we're not finding our people.
Yeah. And, when you were a little kid, when you're talking, like, if you have an imaginary friend, or I always think about my brother when I talk about this, is because he used to say, when I was a big man, I used to drive truck, or when I was a big man, I was doing this. And my grandmother would always say, oh, you're just making up stories again. You're just making things up, and almost like a derogatory thing, and I'm like, that was his imagination. And who knows, like, he could have, because he was little when he was doing that, like, he could have been in touch with that part of himself that remembered another lifetime where he was a truck driver, and it's like, let's encourage that. They're not going to, our kids aren't going to be crazy. They're just going to be more creative. We get to live in a world that allows for, other possibilities other than this linear existence that's not really working,
Yeah, absolutely. I love all the comments that are coming in. I just love that. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. Embrace your weirdness. I love it. Yes, we all need to embrace our weirdness. It'll make me feel less weird.
Then weird won't be a thing, right? If we're all weird, it won't be a thing. It'll be like the meaning of that word will so change, right? So everyone's going to want to do it.
And I think part of it's age, but it's really just life experience, I think, because you just get to a certain point and you're just tired. You're just tired of pretending to be something you're not. You're just tired of like putting on all the masks and just like, you know what, take it or leave it. Don't like it, move along. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just get to that point.
Yeah, Kelly says, I had a college art teacher who told me I had no business holding a pencil in my hand. I hadn't thought about that in years, but that's part of my buying art supplies, but not using them. Yeah, that's probably
Great
a
aha
huge
moment.
wounding. Yeah. You get to heal that. You get to heal that. Like, I don't want to say shame on that teacher, but we don't realize the power I think we hold as influencers. I mean, that's why we're called entrepreneurs, influencers, teachers, all that kind of stuff. And that how dare you know, in that
abuse
position,
that power that way.
Yeah, that's an abuse of power. Yeah. I'm sorry that you had to experience that, but I am so happy that you see it and that you get to shift it for yourself, because that's taking your power out of that situation, and whatever you need to do to heal that within reason.
You're not allowed to go after him. These are the things I've learned in life.
Send him love because he didn't know any better, and claim your power back. Be in that forgiveness energy. That's what we're gonna do. Claim your power back. Yeah. Thanks for speaking up, Elaine. Yes. Yeah. Those supplies. Use those supplies. Krista says, Kelly, I'm sorry. I had just the opposite. I said, I wish I could draw. And then he said, well, they can teach you. Awesome.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because you can learn technique. And then if you just play, you can find your art form, whatever that is, right? Whether it's drawing, painting, baking, gardening, creating spreadsheets. Like I've said a number of times, I love the spreadsheets with all the colors. It's my thing.
I'll send any spreadsheet I need to create to you because it makes my head hurt. Like, in a bad way.
and Alice, who's been with me for quite a while, she's pretty good with that. And we have a new team member, Becky, and I just realized she's a color coder and all of that too. And I'm like, oh, you were meant to be a part of this team. So,
love when that happens.
So it's just like so fun. Once you get a reputation for being weird, it frees you up. Yes, that's exactly it. Because then you know what? What else are you going to say? Bring it on. I'm weird. It's all good.
Yeah. People are just going to be waiting for you to say something weird, right? You're going to let them down if you're not weird.
Yeah. And I love that you're chatting to each other too. That's really awesome.
Yeah. What a great group today. Yeah, it's just awesome.
Absolutely. Wow. And an hour just like whooshes by.
Holy crap.
That's because you guys were so involved. So that's awesome. You wonderful people. I'm trying really hard not to use pronouns or, gender in my speaking, and it's not going well. I'm old and I'm learning because it's ingrained. So wonderful people. My noodles. I use noodles in a lot of my classes. My noodles. But it just whizzed by because of that.
Weirdos.
Yeah, maybe that's it. All my wonderful weirdos. Yeah. Awesome. Any final thoughts today, Deb, before we wrap it up?
No, not. I mean, if any thoughts I have will take us down another pathway, and we can do that another time. But I actually just want to thank everybody for coming on and chatting and bringing stuff up that needs to be seen, to be heard. Get yourselves out there and create good trouble with your art, because it's important. Our imaginations are what's going to be creating the future.
I love my noodles. Wild and wacky weirdos. Yes, all of those things. And I think that's exactly it, right? And just like put yourself out there. And if you're not ready to put yourself out there to everyone, find a community and put yourself out there. But just put yourself out there. And then also take a look at the stories that you may have been told, or you have held on to. I do a timelines exercise that gets you to look at, these sort of key memories. And then we pick out one that stands out that seems like a really odd, like, why do I remember that? Like when my teacher said, I couldn't spell or whatever. And then we start to unpack that. And it's those little things that often become this story that we tell ourselves for years and years and years. And it was like an offhand comment that a teacher made, often a teacher, teachers and parents, because they were the most prevalent in our life, most likely, right?
Yeah.
We saw them the most. And we hold on to that as it's who we are. And it's not who we are. We get to invent who we are. We get to be whoever we want to be. So, yeah. That's right. Embrace your weirdness.
Checking the date for somebody for next
third Monday.
It's the 3rd. It's the 20th again, right? Because March.
Oh, yeah. February, March. Like so it'll be the 20th again.
Yep.
Yeah. Want to put me on the calendar. Oh, yay. Time for you. Excellent, Kelly. It'll be the 20th. Creative You has a calendar that you can download into your calendar, and you can turn it on and off. So, Deb and I are okay if you come to both sites. It's okay if you like both of us. It's okay. So you can download our calendar and still be a client of Deb's. But we do have a calendar that has all sorts of events on it, and we're looking at putting some other events like Deb's and other people that we do other work with. So, but right now it's got all of ours, which would include this, and you can toggle it on and off in your calendar as well. So what I just saw today, and maybe you want to just briefly chat about this, something about color. What are you doing with color?
Oh, well, I am. Yeah, I have a color class that I'm doing on Wednesday called the color, your color genius, or the genius of color. Yeah, the genius of color. I'm like, I don't even know what I called it. But it's just basically
inspiration that comes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's color theory. I have a program that is called the Cosmic Womb, and we get together every Monday and we paint and we work on things throughout the week. We have like a project once a month, and we dive deep in. It's like there's transformation happening, there's painting happening. And last month we were working on a painting, which was really cool, but there was a big question about color. And I started like talking to them about color, and I'm like, hey, would you guys like a color class? And they were all like, all about it. Like, yeah, this sounds really good. And then I decided to open it up to everybody, because like, whether you know a ton about color or you're just scratching the surface, diving into color theory can always expand. It's so funny because I got all my notebooks out from school and I was looking through stuff, and I was like, it's like, it's so cool to revisit all of that stuff again and be able to teach it. So it's gonna open up something for me giving it, which is really exciting. And then those who are going to be on the class will receive a little more in-depth and play with color, and maybe free up a little bit about like maybe a fear about working with color. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of the class is to and Jen says she's so excited for the color class. Yeah. So yeah. So if you're interested in that, just, you can reach out to me either through Facebook.
There'll be a link below as soon as I go back in and put the link below. I have yet to figure out how to put it all there ahead of time. I know I can. I just, I'll figure it out one day when I have a moment to spare. This has been a week of fighting with Google, so that wasn't on my list. But
see, that we only have so much energy, right?
Exactly. Only take on so many chaos projects before you be like, okay, that's enough of that. I saw the email and was like, oh, I have to ask Deb about that, and then I promptly forgot about it because I had other things in my brain. But yeah, awesome. Yeah. We're opening up the business side. So we've just opened the community in Creative You Business, which I'm super excited about for healers and creatives. Anyone really with a heart-centered business, most women in business who online want to do things differently, want to do things more in alignment with themselves and not, that sort of masculine energy way we've been taught is the only way to do business. So as we're restructuring Creative You Healing, we're taking all of what we've learned of doing it the wrong way, putting into Creative You business so that we can help women not do what we've done. And by we, I mean me and my team who supported me no matter what decisions I made. I say that quite often to my team.
Wedge.
I'm like, okay, so we did this thing, and they just look at me and I'm like, okay, well, by we, I mean me, but you were there to support me.
We're in it together.
Yeah, that's a team. So yeah, we're doing, so we've got our free community started, and then our aligned business building membership is going to be opening right away, where we're going to like build our businesses and really do it the right way, do it in alignment with our own selves and what we want from our business and our lives, so that it doesn't consume us 16 hours a day. So right now, so I went from working 16 plus hours a day, always being behind on one business, to now having two, and I work maybe 6 hours a day on two, right? So yeah, when you do it right, it's a huge difference.
It is amazing how much you can get done, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. So
working smarter, not harder.
And it's all about what we think about work, right? What we think about value, and our value, our business value, what we offer, but also I was taught to work hard. And if you're not working hard, you're not,
Ooh, there's another topic. See, that's going down a road, because I would dovetail something right on that.
Yeah.
Because that's a big one for artists, and the value piece of things.
Yeah. Right. Because we've been taught it has to be difficult. We have to work hard. We have to prove ourselves. We have to, you're right. And we're going to go down that whole thing. You join us again next month, when that may or may not be the topic, because we all thought of 12 other things between now and then.
It's always an adventure.
It really is. It really is. But yeah, as always, Deb, I enjoy speaking to you, and I love how much everybody was involved this time. Yes, Elaine, the 100-day project starts tomorrow. I've already started mine. This year, I might actually finish it. The 100-day project, for those who don't know, well, I think it's 100dayproject.com, and you do one thing for 100 days, and it could be like, doesn't have to be the exact same thing. I am doing slow drawing because I've always thought that I didn't have the patience for it. Turns out I do. Look at that. I can change my thinking.
There you go.
I'm doing slow drawing. So
who knows what will happen when you complete in 100 days.
That's right. My goal is to complete the 100 days. We'll see what happens. Yep. So, but thank you everyone for being here. And rabbit hole. I got that, Jennifer. Oh, goodness.
She's so clever. She's so clever.
I can be if I have time to think about it, but yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Deb, for being here. Thank you, everyone else, for being here. And we will be back next month. Same time, same place. Yep. Well, different day, but yeah.